now included post-ups, turnaround jumpers, fadeaways, and attacking the mismatch in the paint. He busted the myth that he cannot create his own shot, and Popovich finally started using him in pick and rolls due to his improved handle. Leonard averaged over 20 points per game for the first time, made his first All-Star team, and repeated as Defensive Player of the Year. He was also runner-up for the MVP award behind Steph Curry. However, the playoffs offered another disappointment, and the second-round exit against OKC will mostly be remembered by Tim Duncan's final NBA games. In 2017, Leonard improved again, just like he did in every season up to that point. Without Tim Duncan and with the aging Parker and Ginobili, Kawhi was now the clear leader of the team. He averaged a career-high 25.5 points and 3.5 assists, with 2 made threes per game. And despite his increased role on offense, his defense didn't suffer, and he made his 3rd consecutive first-team All-Defense. Leonard led the Spurs to the conference finals against the Warriors, who were the heavy favorites. But when Game 1 started, it wasn't Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, or Klay Thompson who was pulling all the strings and dominating. It was Kawhi. San Antonio had a 20-point lead at halftime, and the Claw was unstoppable, scoring 26 points in 24 minutes on the court. And then the Spurs got a taste of their own medicine, and bad karma changed their franchise forever. In the early 2000s, their small forward Bruce Bowen was putting his feet in players' landing area, causing multiple players to injure their ankles. 1 decade later, their star small forward got injured the same way when Zaza Pachulia planted his feet underneath Kawhi when he raised up for a jump shot. Leonard was unable to continue, and without him, the Spurs lost the 21-point lead. He didn't play for the rest of the series, and each of the next 3 games was a blowout. That's how helpless San Antonio was without him. Kawhi was only 26 years old, just entering the prime of his career, and San Antonio counted on him to be their leader for the next 10 years. But to the surprise of the world, this scenario turned out to be the furthest thing from the truth, because when the 2017 season started, Kawhi missed the first 27 games to a quad injury. He then played in 9 games, but he continued to feel pain. The problem was that the Spurs doctor cleared him to play, almost accusing him of lying about being injured. And when you make such accusations to a player who's all business and no nonsense, that's where you piss him off and test his loyalty. Kawhi wanted a second opinion and found his own doctors. He stopped communicating with the team, and nobody knew what he was thinking about. The season ended, and Leonard was still silent. It was obvious that the impossible was now becoming inevitable, and that Kawhi was going to get traded. On July 18th, 2018, Leonard and Danny Green were traded to the Raptors in exchange for DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl. His arrival in Toronto stole all the headlines, just like the introductory press conference. When the season started, it was clear that Kawhi was arguably the best player in the NBA, and that his maturity as a player reached new heights. He averaged career-high 26.6 points and 7.3 rebounds on excellent shooting efficiency, but his progress can't be explained with numbers. What was fascinating about him is how easy he made it look, and how defenses could do nothing to stop him from scoring. You name it, Kawhi was scoring in every way possible, and he did it so nonchalantly that it seemed like he was hitting practice shots. He also became a clear leader of the team, and for the first time, he embraced the role and became much louder on the court and during team meetings. If he wasn't doing load management, he might have won the MVP that year, but that's who Kawhi was. He never cared about individual awards. All he wanted was to win in the postseason, and he even admitted that he thinks the regular season is just a warm-up. But when the playoffs started, it was clear that Kawhi was more than warmed up. He opened the first round with 28 points on average on 55% shooting and 54% for 3. In the second round against Philadelphia, he averaged 38 points and 62% shooting in the first 4 games. However, the 76ers were stacked, and the series went to Game 7. It was an extremely tight game with constant lead changes, and Jimmy Butler tied the score with 4 seconds to go. The Raptors had one final shot to win the game and the series when Kawhi got the ball. He dribbled to the right, closely guarded by Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Kawhi raised up and shot, and as the buzzer sounded, the ball was still bouncing on the rim. But after 4 bounces, it finally fell inside the hoop. Kawhi let out a big scream, and his teammates hugged him, and this was the first Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. In the conference finals against the league MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, things looked bleak for Toronto as they lost the first 2 games. But then Kawhi started guarding Giannis, they turned the series around. Toronto won the next 4 games and proceeded to the finals, with Leonard averaging 30 points in the series. However, despite Kawhi's brilliance, the Raptors were still underdogs in the finals against the Warriors, who were aiming for a three-peat. But partly thanks to KD's injury, partly to Kawhi, Coach Nurse, and the rest of the Raptors who fought like lions, Toronto won the series in 6 games and took the first NBA title to Canada. Despite the emergence of Siakam, the resurrection of Fred VanVleet, and steady quality from Kyle Lowry, Toronto won the title because of Kawhi. Leonard was the finals MVP with 28.5 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, and 2 steals on average, and he averaged over 30 points during the entire playoffs. After the title, Kawhi was a free agent, and he disappeared again. Nobody knew where he was or where he was going to sign, and he single-handedly stopped the entire entire free agency. Ultimately, he opted to return back home to California and sign with the Clippers. In LA, he proved once again that when he's healthy, he's one of the best two-way players to ever play.